A ghostly white shape stumbles across the red dirt road just as the afternoon heat reaches its peak. Dust rises with each unsteady step. This is no mirage, no trick of the scorching sun. A baby elephant, pale as bone and no bigger than a retriever, collapses right there in the middle of the track, its tiny trunk dragging, pink-rimmed eyes searching for something, someone. Joel Stein, wildlife photographer, freezes behind his camera viewfinder, lens halfway to his face. The creature doesn't trumpet, it doesn't run. Instead, it drags itself forward another agonizing foot and lifts its trunk weakly toward Joel's boot as if to say, "Please." Joel's breath catches in his throat. Every professional instinct screams, "Document this, get the shot." But those eyes, those exhausted, pleading eyes, hold him in place. He spent 8 years photographing endangered wildlife across 3 continents, but nothing prepared him for this. The calf's breathing comes in rapid, shallow gasps. Its pale pink skin is blistered and cracked from sun exposure, dehydration written in every trembling muscle. Joel drops to his knees without thinking. The little elephant immediately lowers its head further, almost bowing, surrendering completely to the one human it somehow decided to trust. Joel reaches out, fingers trembling, and rests his hand on the calf's burning forehead. The skin is paper-thin and radiating fever. The creature exhales long and shaky and closes its eyes. His mind races through possibilities, but one thing is clear. This baby won't survive another hour in this heat. Not alone. Not like this. Joel pulls off his safari jacket without hesitation. He wraps the tiny body, feeling every rib through the thin fabric. The calf is impossibly light, fragile in a way that terrifies him. He can feel the frantic heartbeat hammering against his chest. He reaches for his canteen and tilts water carefully into the small mouth. The trunk immediately curls around his finger with surprising strength, holding on like a human child grasping a parent's hand, refusing to let go. That grip, desperate, trusting, alive, changes everything. This isn't a photograph anymore, it's a promise. Joel lifts the creature into his Land Rover, moving fast but gentle. The calf's trunk stays wrapped around his thumb the entire time, a living tether. He speeds toward Makina Wildlife Veterinary Clinic, 40 kilometers away, talking the whole time, soft and urgent. The same voice he uses when calming spooked animals during shoots. The calf listens. It actually seems to listen. When Joel bursts through the clinic doors cradling the wrapped bundle, Dr. Sarah Mbeki looks up from her desk with practiced calm. She's seen everything in 20 years treating African wildlife, mauled lions, poisoned rhinos, orphaned cheetahs. But when Joel unwraps the jacket and reveals the pale, trembling calf, her expression shifts. Professional concern melts into absolute shock. Then something worse, fear. Her hands shake as she leans closer, examining the translucent pink ears, the unusual proportions, the delicate bone structure. She pulls Joel into the back examination room, closes the door firmly, and turns to him with eyes that have gone wide and haunted. "Where exactly did you find this?" Her voice is barely a whisper. Joel explains, the empty road, the collapse, the desperate trust. Dr. Mbeki's face drains of all color as she listens. She runs her fingers over the calf's skull, measures the trunk, checks the feet. Then she pulls out her phone, scrolls through a database, and shows Joel a black and white photograph from 1981, an extinct species, declared gone from the earth 43 years ago. "This isn't just an albino elephant," Dr. Mbeki says, her voice cracking. "Joel, this is a pygmy elephant calf. They don't exist anymore. They can't exist." She pulls up the microscope viewer, shows him what she's seeing in the blood sample. Parasites swarming through the cells like a microscopic invasion, deadly, fast-moving. the kind of infection that kills within days without aggressive treatment. But there's something else, something that makes her hands grip the table until her knuckles go white. If word gets out that these animals still exist somewhere out there, we'll have armed poachers here within 48 hours. This calf is worth more than gold on the black market. And if there's one, she doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. Joel looks down at the tiny creature on the examination table, trunk still reaching for his hand even in its fevered sleep. This baby has a mother. Somewhere in the vast savannah, a mother is searching, calling, frantic with loss. And if the wrong people find out, they'll hunt down the entire herd and erase them from existence, this time permanently. Emma makes a decision that will change everything. We keep this secret. No authorities, not yet. We save this one first. Then we find its family. Joel nods, even though his hands are shaking. Even though he knows he just stepped into something far bigger and more dangerous than a rescue. He just became the guardian of a ghost. Joel's hands move on instinct, pulling his safari jacket off in one swift motion. The fabric is still warm from his body when he wraps it around the trembling calf, tucking the edges carefully to shield that impossibly pale skin from the sun. The creature weighs almost nothing, 40 pounds maybe when it should be twice that. He can feel every knob of its spine, every jutting rib pressing against his chest as he lifts it. The heartbeat hammering beneath his palm is too fast, too weak, a hummingbird rhythm that terrifies him. He carries the bundle to his Land Rover, moving quickly but smoothly, the way he learned to move around skittish wildlife. Don't jostle, don't startle. Keep breathing steady. The calf's head lolls against his shoulder, that tiny trunk still searching, still reaching. Joel settles into the driver's seat with the creature cradled in his lap, and only then does he pull out his canteen. The metal is scorching hot from sitting in the sun, but the water inside is still cool. He tilts it carefully against the small mouth, just a trickle, watching the throat work to swallow. The trunk comes alive then, curling around his finger with startling strength. It's a grip that speaks of pure survival instinct, the way a drowning person grabs a rope, the way a falling climber seizes an anchor, desperate, total, unbreakable. That tiny trunk holds on like Joel is the only solid thing left in a world that's trying to kill it. And maybe he is. He starts the engine, one hand on the wheel, the other trapped in that living grip. The road stretches 40 kilometers to McKenna Wildlife Clinic, rutted and brutal, but Joel takes it as fast as he dares. The suspension groans. Dust plumes behind them in a rooster tail, and through it all, he talks. He doesn't even realize he's doing it at first. Just a steady stream of words in a voice he usually reserves for calming nervous zebras during a shoot. You're okay, I've got you. Not going to let anything happen to you. The words feel inadequate, stupid even, but the calf's ears swivel toward his voice. Those pink-rimmed eyes crack open, unfocused and glassy with fever, but tracking him, listening. There's a vet, good vet. Best I know. She's going to fix you up, I promise. You just hang on. Just keep hanging on. The trunk squeezes tighter around his finger. Joel's throat constricts. He's photographed death before, documented it from behind the safety of a telephoto lens. Circle of life. Nature's way. But this feels different, personal. This creature chose him, trusted him with its last desperate act. And if it dies in his arms on this God-forsaken road, that trust will haunt him forever. The kilometers blur past. Acacia trees, termite mounds, a family of warthogs scattering from the roadside. Joel barely sees any of it. His entire world has narrowed to the weight in his lap, the heat radiating through his jacket, the fragile pulse he can feel against his wrist. He drives with one hand and murmurs promises with every breath. Because that's all he has to give right now. Words and speed, and the stubborn refusal to accept that something this rare, this extraordinary, could simply vanish from the world on an empty road under an indifferent sun. When the clinic finally appears, a low concrete building with peeling white paint and a faded red cross, Joel's shirt is soaked through with sweat. The calf hasn't moved in the last 10 kilometers. For one heart-stopping moment, he thinks he's too late. Then the trunk tightens around his finger one more time. Still here, still fighting. He kicks the Land Rover door open and runs. Dr. Sarah M. Becky's examination room smells of antiseptic and sun-baked concrete. Joel lays the calf on the steel table, and for the first time since he picked it up, that tiny trunk releases his finger. The absence feels like a wound. Sarah's already moving, her hands efficient and sure as she unwraps the jacket. But the moment she sees what's underneath, she goes absolutely still. Joel watches her face cycle through expressions too fast to name. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, then something that looks like pure terror. Her fingers hover over the calf's skull, trembling before she finally touches it, tracing the curve of the cranium, the unusual slope of the forehead, the delicate architecture of the bones. She measures the trunk with a tape measure pulled from her pocket, checks the feet, the proportions. Her breathing gets shallow. "Joel," her voice comes out strangled. "Where exactly did you find this?" He tells her everything. The empty road, the collapse, the way it reached for him. Sarah's listening, but her eyes never leave the calf. She pulls out her phone with shaking hands, scrolls through something, then turns the screen toward him. It's a black and white photograph, grainy and faded, a small elephant standing beside a termite mound. The date stamp reads 1981. Loxodonta cyclotis pumilio, she whispers. Forest pygmy elephant, West African subspecies. They declared it extinct in 1983 after logging destroyed the last known habitat. She sets the phone down and grips the table's edge. "Joel, they don't exist anymore. They can't exist. But this—" She gestures at the calf, and her hand is visibly shaking. "This is one, and it's dying." She draws blood with practiced speed, slides the sample under a microscope, and goes even paler. "Look." Joel peers through the eyepiece. Even with his limited knowledge, he can see them, dark shapes swarming through the red blood cells like an invasion force. Babesia parasites transmitted by ticks, destroys red blood cells, causes organ failure. Without aggressive treatment, it'll be dead in 72 hours. Joel's stomach drops. "So we treat it. You've handled parasites before." "That's not the problem." Sarah closes her eyes. When she opens them again, they're haunted. "If word gets out that pygmy elephants still exist, we'll have poachers here within 2 days. Do you understand what I'm saying? This calf is worth more than $1 million on the black market. Its tusks, its skin, its bones. Traditional medicine, trophy hunters, collectors who want to say they own a piece of an extinct species." The room suddenly feels smaller, colder. "There's a herd," Joel says slowly. "There has to be. This baby didn't appear out of nowhere." "Exactly," Sarah's voice cracks, "which means there are more of them out there, a breeding population we never knew survived. And if the wrong people find out," she doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. Joel's seen the aftermath of poaching operations, the butchered elephants left to rot with their faces hacked off, the orphaned calves starving beside their mothers' corpses. "So what do we do?" His voice comes out harder than he intends. Sarah looks at the calf, then at him. "We keep this secret. No government, no wildlife authority, not yet. We save this one first. Buy ourselves time to figure out where it came from." She starts pulling bottles from a locked cabinet antibiotics, antiparasitics, IV fluids. It's going to take weeks of treatment, round-the-clock care. Are you prepared for that? Joel thinks about his assignment, the documentary he's supposed to be shooting, the deadlines waiting back in Nairobi. Then he looks down at the calf on the table, its breathing labored and its skin burning with fever, and knows there's only one answer he can give. Whatever it takes. Sarah nods once, sharp and decisive. Then we'd better get started, because somewhere out there, this baby's mother is looking for it. And we're running out of time. The first night, Joel doesn't sleep at all. Sarah converts the back storage room into a makeshift recovery ward, piling blankets on the concrete floor, setting up a space heater against the desert chill, running an IV line from a bag of fluids hanging on a coat rack. It's crude, improvised, nothing like the sterile facilities they'd use for a human patient. But the calf ghost, Joel starts calling it, because that pale form in the dim light looks like something conjured from mist, doesn't seem to care. It cares about Joel. The moment he tries to step away to give Sarah room to work, Ghost's eyes fly open and it makes a sound Joel's never heard before, a high, desperate squeak that punches straight through his chest, the kind of sound that means, "Don't leave me." "I'm here," Joel says, dropping back down beside the makeshift bed. "I'm right here." He rests his hand on Ghost's side, feeling the rapid flutter of the heart, the heat pouring off that fragile body. Ghost exhales and closes its eyes again. Sarah looks at Joel over her clipboard, eyebrows raised. "Congratulations," she says dryly. "You've been adopted." She teaches him everything in one brutal crash course. How to prepare the formula, specialized elephant milk replacement mixed with electrolytes and probiotics. How to hold the oversized bottle at the right angle so Ghost doesn't choke. How to check the IV site for swelling. How to read the subtle signs. Ears drooping means pain. Trunk reaching means hunger. That specific low rumble means something's wrong. Joel learns fast because he has to. Ghost won't eat unless Joel's the one holding the bottle. Won't settle unless Joel's voice is the one talking. Around 3 in the morning, when Ghost's fever spikes and Sarah has to administer another dose of medicine, the calf thrashes weakly, trumpeting in distress. Joel does the only thing he can think of. He lies down on the blankets next to Ghost, wraps one arm across that burning body and starts singing. It's a lullaby his mother used to sing. He hasn't thought about it in 20 years, but the words come back like muscle memory, soft and tuneless and probably off-key. Ghost's ears swivel toward him. The thrashing slows. That tiny trunk finds Joel's free hand and wraps around his wrist, holding on. And gradually, impossibly, Ghost's breathing evens out. Sarah stands in the doorway, backlit by the hallway light, and Joel can see the shine in her eyes. "I've been doing this for 20 years, she says quietly. "I've never seen anything like this." The hours blur together. Joel feeds Ghost every 2 hours, coaxing it to take just a little more, even when the calf seems too exhausted to swallow. He cleans the blistered skin with antibiotic ointment, so gentle his hands cramp from holding steady. He learns Ghost's vocabulary, the rumble that means "I'm scared," the squeak that means it hurts, the soft exhale that means "thank you," and Ghost learns his. By dawn, when Joel whispers, "You're okay," Ghost's ears perk up. When Joel hums that lullaby, Ghost's eyes drift closed. They're building a language that has nothing to do with words and everything to do with trust. Sarah brings coffee as the sun rises, painting the storage room walls gold. Ghost is sleeping finally, truly sleeping, with Joel's hand resting on its shoulder. The fever has broken. The breathing is deeper, steadier. "It's going to make it," Sarah says, and it sounds like a prayer. Joel doesn't take his hand away. "Yeah," he says, his voice rough from exhaustion and something bigger than relief. Yeah, it is. The truck appears on the third morning. Joel spots it from the storage room window, a battered Toyota Cruiser, mud-splattered and anonymous, circling the clinic parking lot twice before pulling away. He wouldn't think anything of it except for the way it slows near his Land Rover, the way the driver, face hidden behind sunglasses and a cap, seems to be studying the vehicle, memorizing it. He finds Sarah in her office, and the look on her face tells him she's seen it too. She's hunched over a radio receiver, one ear pressed to a headset, her expression carved from stone. When she notices Joel in the doorway, she pulls the headset off and gestures him inside, closes the door. "There's chatter," she says without preamble. Someone's asking questions on the supply network frequency. Unusual wildlife brought to McKenna Clinic. White animal, maybe albino. Looking for information, paying well. She meets his eyes. "We have maybe 24 hours before someone talks. There's a supply driver who saw your Land Rover, saw you carrying something wrapped up. People are curious, and curiosity here gets sold to the highest bidder." Joel's blood goes cold. How did they even know to ask? Bush Telegraph. Sarah's voice is bitter. Someone saw something. Maybe a shepherd who watched you pick up Ghost. Maybe someone who noticed my supply order. Elephant formula. Pediatric IV equipment, all at once. Doesn't take much for people to start putting pieces together, not when there's money involved. Joel thinks about the truck, about the way it circled. What do we do? Sarah's already pulling a map from her desk drawer, spreading it across the surface. Her finger lands on a point deep in the Usambara protected zone. There's an abandoned ranger station here. 40 kilometers northeast. It's been empty since the government cut funding 5 years ago. No roads in, just game trails. No one goes there anymore. She looks up. "We move Ghost tonight. Keep treating it there while we figure out our next step." "We need to find the herd," Joel says. It's been burning in the back of his mind since Sarah's revelation. Ghost's mother is out there somewhere. If we can locate them, I know. Sarah's already nodding. "And we will. But first we get Ghost somewhere safe, somewhere no one will think to look." She starts pulling supplies from cabinets. Medicine, formula, batteries. "Pack your camera equipment, all of it, especially the audio gear." Joel frowns. Why? Because Ghost's been making calls, distress vocalizations, mostly subsonic. Elephants communicate over huge distances using sounds we can barely hear. If we record Ghost and play those calls in the right location, she doesn't finish, but Joel understands. They're going to use Ghost as bait. Not for poachers, for family. They spend the day preparing. Joel loads his Land Rover with everything they'll need. Camping gear, the medical supplies, his photography equipment packed in shock-proof cases. Sarah bribes her clinic assistant to spread a story about a false alarm, just a sick warthog. Nothing interesting. The assistant looks skeptical but takes the money. Joel knows it won't hold for long. Ghost seems to sense something's wrong. It stays closer than usual, trunk constantly reaching for Joel's hand, making that low rumble that means, "I'm scared." "I know, buddy," Joel murmurs, stroking the pale forehead. "But we're going to keep you safe, I promise." They wait until full dark. Sarah rides in the passenger seat, Ghost curled in the back on a nest of blankets, and Joel drives with his headlights off, navigating by moonlight and GPS. The game trail is brutal. Rocks and fallen trees and washouts that nearly bottom out the suspension. It takes 3 hours to cover 40 kilometers, but when they finally reach the ranger station, a squat concrete building slowly being reclaimed by the forest, Joel feels the knot in his chest loosen slightly. No one followed them, no headlights in the distance, just the sounds of the night forest and Ghost's steady breathing from the back seat. They carry everything inside by flashlight, setting up in what used to be the main office. Sarah gets the IV rehung. Joel spreads blankets, and Ghost, exhausted from the journey, curls up with its head in Joel's lap and falls asleep. "Tomorrow," Sarah says quietly, "we start looking." Joel nods, his hand resting on Ghost's shoulder, feeling that strong heartbeat under his palm. Tomorrow they'll search. Tonight they survived. The ranger station becomes their world. By day, Sarah treats Ghost's infection, while Joel maintains the camp, hauling water from a nearby stream, rationing their supplies, keeping watch for any sign of unwanted visitors. By night, he sets up his equipment. The audio rig is professional grade, the kind wildlife documentarians use to record whale songs or bat echolocation. Joel sets the directional microphones on tripods at the forest edge, angles them toward the valley below, and connects everything to his laptop. Then he plays back the recordings he's made of Ghost, those low, rumbling distress calls that vibrate more than they sound. He amplifies them, broadcasts them into the darkness, and waits. The first night brings nothing, just the usual symphony of the African night: insects, nightjars, the distant cough of a leopard. Ghost sleeps fitfully, waking every few hours to feed, its appetite finally returning. Sarah checks the blood work and reports the parasite count is dropping. They're winning the medical battle, but the clock is still ticking on the other one. The second night, Joel adjusts the frequency, plays the calls longer. He sits in the darkness with his headphones on, monitoring the return signals, and tries not to think about what happens if they never find the herd. If Ghost is the last one, an orphan of an extinct species, doomed to live out its life in captivity or die trying to survive alone. Then, at 2:47 a.m. on the third night, his entire chest cavity vibrates. It's not a sound, not exactly. It's deeper than hearing, a frequency that bypasses the ears and goes straight to the sternum. Joel tears off his headphones and grabs his night vision camera, hands shaking so badly he nearly drops it. He scans the valley below, the screen painting everything in shades of green and gray. At first, nothing, then movement, large forms between the trees, moving with the distinctive swaying gait. Joel's heart hammers as he zooms in, adjusts the focus, and there they are. Elephants, small elephants, barely 5 feet at the shoulder, 7 of them moving in a tight group. And leading them, trunk raised and swaying, ears spread wide as she calls back to the station, a mother searching for her baby. Joel's vision blurs. He blinks hard, not willing to miss a second of this. Through the night vision, he can see the details. The way one elephant has a notched ear, the way another has a twisted tail, the way the mother in front keeps stopping, turning in circles, her trunk testing the air. She's frantic, desperate. Joel knows that body language. He's seen it before in elephants who've lost their calves. He's watching a mother who refuses to give up. He records everything, 20 minutes of footage as the herd moves through the valley, calling and searching. They pass within 300 meters of the station, close enough that Joel can hear the rumble in his bones, even without the microphones. Then, as dawn starts to gray the eastern sky, they melt back into the forest. Joel sits frozen for a long moment, his camera still running, his heart still pounding. Then he stands on shaking legs and walks back to the station. Sarah's awake, sitting beside Ghost, and she takes one look at Joel's face and knows. "You found them." He nods, can't quite speak yet. Ghost stirs, lifts its head, and makes a soft sound, the one that means, "What's wrong?" Joel sinks down beside the calf, and suddenly he's laughing and crying at the same time, his hand on Ghost's shoulder. "Your mom's looking for you," he whispers. "She's out there. She didn't give up." Ghost's trunk curls around his wrist, holding on, and Joel lets himself feel the full weight of what they've just discovered. They're not extinct. Against all odds, against all probability, this impossible species survived, hidden, enduring, waiting to be found. Now they just have to figure out how to bring them back together. Ghost's wound has closed. The blistered skin has scabbed over and started to heal, revealing new pink tissue underneath. The fever hasn't returned in 4 days. Sarah runs blood work and reports the parasites are gone, eliminated by the aggressive treatment. By every medical measure, Ghost is ready. But ready for what? That's the question that keeps Joel awake at night. They're sitting outside the station in the pre-dawn darkness, watching Ghost explore the clearing, that tiny form moving with growing confidence, trunk investigating everything, ears perked and alert. The calf has gained weight, strength. It looks almost healthy now. Almost. The herd's preparing to migrate, Sarah says quietly. She's been tracking them through Joel's equipment, plotting their movements on the map. See the pattern? They're moving northwest, following the seasonal browse. In another week, maybe 2, they'll be gone from this area. Might not come back for 6 months, maybe longer. Joel watches Ghost discover a termite mound, trunk exploring the holes with fascination. So we return it now. It's not fully healed. Sarah's voice is careful. The infection's gone, but it's still underweight. Stress alone could cause a relapse. And reunion stress is real. I've seen animals go into shock from it. If Ghost's system crashes out there. She doesn't finish, doesn't have to. If we wait, Joel says, we might lose the only chance to return it to its mother. They sit in silence, watching the sky lighten. This is the impossible choice Sarah warned him about. The medical decision versus the survival decision. Both come with risks. Both could kill Ghost. Joel thinks about the mother elephant he watched through the night vision, still searching, still calling. He thinks about Ghost's first moments on that dusty road, the way it reached for him. Trust. Ghost wanders back to them, tired from exploring, and settles between Joel and Sarah with a contented rumble. Its trunk finds Joel's hand automatically now, a habit born from weeks of constant contact. Joel strokes that pale forehead and makes his decision. Ghost needs its mother more than it needs medicine, he says. I've watched them together, even just in my recordings, the way elephant mothers teach their calves, protect them, guide them. Ghost can't learn how to be an elephant from us. We can keep it alive, but we can't teach it to survive. That's what its mother does. Sarah's quiet for a long moment. Then she nods, slow and resigned. You're right. I know you're right. She reaches out, touches Ghost's ear gently. I wanted more time, wanted to be sure. We're never going to be sure, Joel says. Not about something like this. We make the best choice we can and hope it's enough. They spend the day preparing. Sarah gives Ghost a final examination, loads Joel up with emergency antibiotics in case of relapse, goes through the signs of distress to watch for. Joel packs his Land Rover, then unpacks his cameras. This moment doesn't need documentation. Some things are too sacred to photograph. At sunset, they load Ghost into the back of the vehicle. The calf fusses, uncomfortable with the confinement, but settles when Joel climbs in beside it. Sarah drives, following the coordinates from last night's tracking. The herd is moving through a valley 10 kilometers north, their best chance for reunion. Ghost seems to sense something's changing. It stays close to Joel, trunk wrapped around his wrist, making small, worried sounds. Joel talks the whole drive, his voice steady even though his hands are shaking. You're going home, buddy, back to your mom, back to where you belong. He's not sure if he's reassuring Ghost or himself. When they reach the valley edge, Sarah cuts the engine. Full dark now, just the moon and stars. Somewhere in the distance, Joel can hear it, that subsonic rumble that means elephants nearby. Ghost's entire body goes rigid, its ears spread wide. It knows. That sound means family. Joel opens the back of the Land Rover and Ghost practically leaps out. Stumbling in its eagerness, it takes 3 steps toward the sound, then stops and turns back, trunk reaching for Joel. One last time, Joel kneels in the dirt and lets Ghost's trunk wrap around his hand. "I'll never forget you," he whispers. "Go on now." She's waiting. Ghost holds on for 3 heartbeats, 4, then releases and walks into the darkness, toward the rumbling, toward home. Joel watches until that pale form disappears completely into the shadows, and only then does he let himself breathe. They wait in the Land Rover, windows down, engine cold. Joel has his night vision camera, but he doesn't raise it. Some moments don't need recording, they need witnessing. The moon hangs fat and silver over the valley, painting everything in shades of blue and shadow. And somewhere out there, Ghost is walking alone into the unknown, following instincts buried deeper than memory. The rumbling grows louder. Joel can feel it in his chest, that subsonic vibration that means elephants communicating. Then, cutting through it, a sound that makes his throat close, a high trumpeting call. Ghost, calling for its mother. Sarah grabs his arm, her fingers digging in hard. Listen. The forest explodes with sound, multiple elephants calling at once, a chorus of rumbles and trumpets and that earth-shaking vibration. The whole herd is responding. Joel fumbles for his camera despite his earlier resolution, switches to thermal imaging and scans the tree line. There, movement, Ghost's tiny heat signature, bright against the cooler background, moving fast now. And then, emerging from between the trees, a larger form, adult-sized, rushing forward. The mother. Joel holds his breath. This is the moment everything could go wrong. The mother might not recognize Ghost after weeks of separation and human scent. She might reject it, attack it. He's heard of it happening with other species. Mothers who refuse reunions, who see their offspring as changed. Alien. Ghost trumpets again, desperate and afraid. The mother's 3 meters away. 2, 1. Joel's heart hammers so hard he feels sick. The mother slides to a stop in a spray of dirt, her trunk already moving, frantically exploring Ghost's body, over the head, down the back, checking for injuries, for scent, for proof that this is real. Ghost presses against her, that tiny body dwarfed by her bulk, trunk tangled with hers. The mother makes a sound Joel's never heard before, low and rumbling and broken with what can only be described as relief, grief, joy all mixed together. She wraps her trunk completely around Ghost and pulls the calf tight against her chest. Ghost disappears into that embrace, safe and surrounded, home. The rest of the herd emerges from the shadows, adults and juveniles forming a protective circle around mother and calf, trunks touching, rumbling their own greetings. A family reunited. Joel lowers the camera because his hands are shaking too badly to hold it steady. Beside him, Sarah's crying openly, not even trying to hide it. They sit in silence and watch as the herd folds Ghost back into their ranks, as the mother refuses to let go of her baby, as the impossible reunion they'd hoped for unfolds in the moonlit valley. Then the mother's massive head swings toward the Land Rover, toward Joel, her ears spread wide, a threat display. Joel's every survival instinct screams at him to start the engine, to run, but he doesn't move. Can't move. This is Ghost's mother. He owes her this much, to let her see him, to let her decide. The mother takes a step toward the vehicle. Another. Ghost trumpets, a sound that might be protest, but the mother doesn't stop. She walks right up to the Land Rover's open window, and Joel can smell her. Earth and grass and wild things. She's so close he could reach out and touch her trunk. He doesn't. He just sits, frozen, barely breathing. She extends her trunk through the window, stops an inch from Joel's chest. He can feel the warm air from her breath, can see the intelligence in those dark eyes. She's examining him, trying to understand. This human who smells like her baby, who kept her baby alive. Then, slowly, deliberately, she touches his chest, right over his heart. It's not aggressive, not gentle either. It's heavy with meaning he can't quite translate. Recognition maybe, or acknowledgement, or some elephant concept that doesn't have a human word. She holds the contact for 3 eternal seconds, while Joel's heart hammers against her trunk. Then she withdraws, turns, walks back to Ghost and the waiting herd. She gathers her baby against her side, and the entire group begins to move, melting into the forest like shadows dissolving into shadows. Within minutes, they're gone. The valley falls silent except for the night insects and Joel's ragged breathing. Sarah starts the engine. Neither of them speaks on the drive back. What is there to say? They just witnessed something that shouldn't exist. An extinct species surviving, a mother and child reunited. A wild animal thanking the human who saved her baby. Joel's chest still feels the pressure of that trunk over his heart. Some gifts can't be explained, only felt. The ranger station feels hollow without Ghost. Joel packs his equipment in silence, each piece a reminder of why he came here, what he found, what he had to let go. Sarah's already dismantled the medical setup, erasing evidence of what happened here. They work like thieves covering their tracks, because in a way, that's what they are. Thieves who stole back something the world thought it had lost. The drive back to the clinic takes half the time without the need for secrecy. Dawn's breaking when they arrive, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Sarah's assistant is already there, sweeping the front steps, and she looks up with relief. "Thank God you're back," she says. "People have been asking. The truck came by again yesterday." She pauses, then adds quietly, "I told them you went to Arusha for supplies, that the white animal was just a warthog with skin disease. I don't think they believed me." Sarah nods, grim. "We were never here. The warthog died. We disposed of the body. That's the story, understand?" The assistant nods, but Joel can see the questions in her eyes. Questions she's smart enough not to ask. Joel stays for one more night, sleeping in his Land Rover in the clinic parking lot, too restless to find a hotel. He downloads all his footage onto 3 separate hard drives, encrypts them, buries the password in a note in his desk back in Nairobi. Proof that Ghost existed, proof that the pygmy elephant survived, insurance in case something happens to him. The next morning, he says goodbye to Sarah in her office. She looks exhausted, years older than when he first burst through her door carrying a dying calf wrapped in his jacket. "What will you do?" she asks. "Go back to work, finish my documentary, pretend this never happened." He pauses. "What about you?" "Same. Treat normal animals, keep my mouth shut. Wait." She meets his eyes. "Someone needs to protect them, Joel, that herd, now that we know they're out there." "We will," he says, and means it. "No government agencies, no official reports, not until we're sure it's safe. We're the only ones who know where they are. Let's keep it that way." They shake hands, and Joel drives away from Makina Clinic with no plans to return. In his rearview mirror, Sarah stands in the doorway, watching until he disappears around the bend. 2 people bound by a secret that could save a species or doom it, depending on who finds out first. Joel buries himself in work. He finishes his documentary on schedule, edits out every frame of Ghost, tells no one what he found. Weeks pass, then months. He moves on to other assignments, gorillas in Uganda, wild dogs in Botswana. The work is good, the footage is good, but it all feels hollow compared to those nights in the ranger station, feeding Ghost by flashlight, listening to that tiny rumble that meant I trust you. The email arrives 18 months after Joel buried that piece of ivory in the clearing. It's from Sarah, just 3 words. You need to see this. Attached is a grainy photo taken by a camera trap, motion activated, hidden in the forest. The timestamp reads 3 days ago. Joel enlarges the image on his laptop screen, and his breath catches. It's the herd, all of them. But there are more now, 2 additional calves, both healthy, both the same unusual small stature. The pygmy elephants aren't just surviving, they're breeding, growing, and in the center of the frame, towering over a tiny newborn, is Ghost's mother, and beside her, protective and proud, is Ghost, now nearly full-grown, with tusks that gleam pale in the camera flash. Ghost has become a guardian, an older sibling, part of the herd's future. The image is proof of everything Joel hoped for and was terrified to believe. They made it, against extinction, against poachers, against impossible odds. They made it. Joel books a flight that evening, not for an assignment, not for a story, just to see, just to know. He drives the familiar route to the valley, sets up camp in the same clearing, and waits. He doesn't call, doesn't broadcast recordings. If Ghost comes, it will be by choice. 2 days pass. Joel photographs birds, documents the forest recovery, pretends this is just another job. But every rustle makes his heart jump. Every shadow could be pale hide moving through the trees. On the 3rd evening, as the sun sets and the forest fills with that particular quality of light that makes everything look painted, Joel hears it, that rumble he'd recognize in his sleep. Ghost emerges from the tree line, and Joel has to steady himself against a wave of emotion. Not a baby anymore, not even adolescent. Ghost is nearly adult-sized now, powerful and magnificent, with tusks that curve gracefully from that pale face. But it's still Ghost, those same intelligent eyes, that same careful way of moving, head tilted slightly as if listening to something beyond hearing. Ghost walks straight to Joel, no hesitation, and extends its trunk. Joel reaches out and they touch palm to trunk, a greeting that spans species and time. Ghost rumbles low and content, and the sound vibrates through Joel's chest like coming home. They stand like that for a long moment, 2 beings who saved each other, remembering. Then Ghost does something unexpected. It turns and calls back toward the forest. Joel's heart hammers. Is the herd coming? Will they remember him? Will they tolerate his presence? A smaller form appears between the trees. One of the new calves, barely a year old, tiny and uncertain. It stays at the tree line, clearly afraid, but curious. Ghost rumbles again, reassuring, encouraging, and the calf takes a tentative step forward. Then another. Until it's standing beside Ghost, looking up at Joel with wide, wondering eyes. Ghosts showing the calf that not all humans are dangerous, that this one, at least, can be trusted. It's passing down the knowledge of Joel's kindness to the next generation, teaching survival that includes, incredibly, the memory of one human who helped when help was needed most. Joel sinks to his knees, overwhelmed. The calf takes another step closer, extends its tiny trunk and touches Joel's face, exploring, learning, trusting because Ghost trusts. And in that moment, Joel understands what Ghost's gift truly meant. Not just thanks, not just remembrance, but legacy. This herd will remember. They'll teach their children, who'll teach theirs, creating a lineage of memory that might protect them if humans ever discover them again. One human proved trustworthy. That story will live in their family history, passed down through trunks and rumbles and the mysterious intelligence that makes elephants remember for generations. Ghost touches Joel's shoulder one more time, then gently guides the calf back toward the tree line. They pause at the edge, 2 pale forms in the gathering darkness, and Ghost lifts its trunk in what can only be called farewell. Then they're gone. melted into the forest, leaving Joel alone with the weight of what he's been trusted with. He doesn't take a single photograph, doesn't write anything down. Some stories are too dangerous to tell, too precious to risk. Instead, he sits in the clearing as stars emerge overhead and makes a silent promise to the forest, to Ghost, to that tiny herd fighting for survival in a world that thought they were already gone. He'll keep their secret, he'll watch from a distance, and if the day ever comes when they need him again, he'll be ready, because that's what guardians do. They protect what's sacred, they honor what's trusted, they keep the faith even when, especially when, the world has given up hope. Joel packs his camp at first light and drives away, carrying the knowledge that extinction isn't always permanent, that wild things still hide in the forgotten places, that sometimes against every odd and all logic, life finds a way to persist, and that the rarest gift isn't ivory or proof or recognition, it's being chosen, being trusted, being allowed for just a moment to be part of something so much larger than yourself. He's the guardian of ghosts, the keeper of impossible secrets, and he'll take that honor to his grave, knowing that somewhere in the green shadows of the Usambara, pale elephants still walk wild, free and unbroken. The world thinks they're extinct. Let the world keep thinking it. Some miracles survive best in silence.